You're listening to Heroes in the Moment.
What's up, heroes? I'm Michael.
And I'm Nathan.
And today we're reviewing Avatar: The Way of Water.
Our introduction to the Avatar universe.
Our first bit into the Avatar world and universe, which, everybody wanted this movie to fail. Everybody wanted this movie to be bad. Everybody wanted this movie to not do good.
Yeah,
and mostly,
keep it one.
It's mostly because of petty nature, the fact that the first Avatar made so much money, and people just don't want to see the second one do that well. But honestly, I don't want to see it do as good necessarily.
Yeah,
but it does deserve to be that good.
I mean, I don't think it will. I mean, obviously, it was the first one was revolutionary, right? When it came out, that was kind of when CGI was peaking. Probably the closest thing you had to that was Transformers, but Avatar was something that people had never seen before.
Right.
Whereas while the visual effects in this one were good, it wasn't unlike anything we've ever seen in our entire lives.
Right.
We've seen CGI similar. So while I wonder how much money it will make this weekend. I know they're projected
a lot.
Like 520 something.
Yeah, it's not the most ever in an opening weekend. So
that's nuts.
That's pretty nuts. So we'll see what goes on. But
James Cameron did it again.
He did it. So just initial thoughts and reactions. This movie definitely blew me out, pun intended, out of the water. It was a phenomenal movie from start to finish. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. We watched it together. And we both had a good time. I definitely think it's better than the first one. I think I can just go ahead and say that this one is a better movie than the first one. And it definitely blew me out of the water. So as we get into this review, I would just like to say an apology because we will, and I'm not just saying we will, we will mispronounce a lot of these names.
Yeah, I didn't have subtitles when I was watching it in the
Even
theater.
if we did, though, we're mispronouncing these names.
I know.
These names are we're going to mispronounce them, and I apologize in advance for that. But we will as we go on. But first off, before we get into our characters and break those down, we got to talk about our director, right? We got to talk about James Cameron and what he accomplished with this movie.
To be honest, Michael, walking into this movie, I wasn't expecting a lot. You see a lot of really good movies and a lot of failed sequels, right? Because it kind of becomes just something for the money. However, this is not the case. He truly does expand upon his universe, upon his characters. Props to him. He has the next 5-6 movies already scripted, and
they already filmed the third one.
Already filming, so that's nuts. But I'm not a huge James Cameron fan, but he did a very good job with this movie.
If you look at James Cameron's track record, he did Terminator 2, the first two Terminators, which are both great movies.
They were good.
He did Alien, right? He did
Alien?
I think so.
I thought Ridley Scott did Alien.
Well, he made an Aliens, the second one. Gotcha. That may be it. He did Titanic. He did some other phenomenal movies there. He does not miss a lot of times very often. And the reason that I think he's such a talented director, he's cocky. I will give him that. He said, go to the bathroom. I did use that ticket twice. He's like, go to the bathroom. And honestly,
I didn't. I dehydrated myself.
You did great. But honestly, the way he's like, you'll see it again. And honestly, I didn't think I'd want to, but I want to see it again. That's how it blows my mind. Because this is a movie you need to see in theaters, quite honestly. And I would like to see it again, if I'm being honest. So,
I liked it, but man, 312 is just a long time to commit.
It's a long time.
So I don't know.
It's a long time, but I would like to see it again. But again, he did such a great job. He developed his own language. He literally developed his own flora and fauna for the world of Pandora. He developed his whole lore around this world.
It's crazy.
He did such a great job. He wrote it and directed it, and he did a beautiful job, honestly, with his movie. He spent a lot of time on them, and I appreciate those. he literally filmed Avatar 3 already and scenes for Avatar 4 because he wanted the kid characters that they play to still be the same age. Really? That's why he did it.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal.
The other movies I think about that do that were like a freaking Lord of the Rings. When they just filmed all three overseas, it just works out better, like you said, with the age gaps and you just got that continuity flowing.
It works better, and I'm so excited for as they continue to do them, and this got me hyped for the future of the Avatar universe, honestly. So let's get into our characters. We'll break those down for you guys. All right. So first off, we got to talk about our main protagonist, right? Jake Sully, who is our main character of this story. What do we think?
Oh, I'm still having a hard time processing that he used to be human.
Yeah,
because that's been the hardest part for me about the whole Avatar universe. That a human would abandon his race and then become a blue person and then have 4 blue babies.
3 and an adopted one.
Oh, that's right. And Kiri. That blows my mind. I thought he freaking killed it in the role. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it's all CGI. So,
and Avatar: The Way of Water,
you know.
he was never human. He was never Sam Worthington, so it was just his
he
voice.
was,
So.
yeah, it was just the voice. Obviously, they had
Well,
like,
he did the motion
suit,
capture.
yeah, the
but-
motions and everything, but we didn't see his face.
Right.
But I mean, I think he's probably the second best part about this movie.
Really?
Behind Zoe Saldana's performance.
Yeah, I enjoy Jake
he's good.
Sully. I think he's an interesting character. I honestly think though I enjoyed his character better in the first one as do I did the second one.
Yeah.
Just because in the second one he's very headstrong. He was a very fatherly figure. He was very much he cared about his children, but at the same time he cared about some more than others, and that was.
I know
present.
he's kind of a bad dad. Like
He is
honestly.
in a way. Like, he's trying to protect them, but at the same time he's not doing his dadly
he
job.
neglects like
And
some of the others.
I never really cared that he kind of betrayed his human race because at the same time the human race that they betray in the Avatar
I know.
movies are horrible.
But like that's a part I can't get over.
know.
Like, would that be realistic? The humans they keep on showing, like they find the worst scumbags,
Right.
And they're like, well, I can't be a human because of these scumbags. Like,
Right.
they don't give like a middle ground for like a decent human.
Right. No, I
being,
understand.
It feels like
It's pretty crazy in that of itself, but
All the humans are terrible.
I enjoy him being the action surrounding him, what he did, his fight scenes were super cool and everything, but he's not my favorite character.
Yeah.
And typically I do like main characters or I connect better with them for some reason. I don't know why, but I
Yeah.
like, main characters a lot of times, but he is not my favorite character from this movie and not of the franchise in itself. And actually my favorite character of the franchise we'll talk about in a few minutes. And it came from this movie was their first appearance. So
Huh.
I really enjoyed that. So
Okay.
Sully, there was a lot of scenes that I was like, I don't like this dude. This dude's kind of a jerk in a lot of senses.
I know.
And then in other
He
ways,
really
like,
is.
okay, he's pretty cool.
I know. I mean, and at that point, you got to just factor in like when all this stuff's going down, he's acting like a Marine, and
Yeah,
his
he
wife
is.
calls him out. She's like, "This is not a squad. This is your
Right.
family." So
Right.
that's kind of how you've seen it.
Exactly.
But
so
yeah, he's kind of sucky at some points.
he is. So that's my point of Jake Sully. All right. So next up, we got to talk about, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing his name, Natiri, which is Zoe Saldana's character.
Yeah.
Forgive me, I butchered that because I definitely
I
did.
don't know how to say it.
But she was pretty cool.
She went crazy.
She was pretty
man.
cool.
That one scene where she's just screaming,
Yeah,
dude.
no.
That
Zoe Saldana
chills,
had the
man.
best acting performance in
yeah,
this movie.
I
for
do
sure.
think she had the best performance in this movie.
Yes.
I can't believe that's Zoe Saldana, man.
I know.
Like,
I know.
I really
That's
can't.
Gamora right there.
I can't believe it, man.
I know. And her action scenes were so cool.
Dude, flying on the
So
animals and
cool.
shooting arrows
through the ships
the
and
shields,
through
man.
people's chests. And
I
stuff.
know, dude.
Oh, it was sick.
And I love like they didn't shy away from the violence. I mean,
No,
talking about,
they
like
did not.
crude bows and arrows.
Mhm.
It's gonna be bloody and messy. So.
And they did a great job. I mean, even the opening scenes when she's fighting, and she's the only one in this movie that's very much Avatar. Like, she's not an Avatar. She's Na'vi.
Like she's in the movie. She's a representative,
Right, of the pure Na'vi.
of the pure. Yeah, she's just straight on. Avatar. you
right.
know.
Well, she's not Avatar. She's Na'vi. We have to
Na'vi,
remember
that's right.
Avatar's the people, the humans.
Navi.
Yeah, she's a Na'vi. So, and she's a great job. She's not my favorite character, mostly because of what she did in the end towards Spider, the character we'll talk about a little later.
I didn't like that subplot. I feel like I can't diss on her for that.
If you don't think you can diss on her for that?
No.
I mean, I understand why she did it because she wants her child. At the same time, though, that will have repercussions in the future, right? It'll have to. So
Yeah.
we'll see what goes on with that. But her performance is what really capitalizes from her character. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see her again.
She killed it.
She did.
Killed
She
it.
did. All right, next up, we got to talk about the main antagonist of both movies, which surprisingly enough, I was
Yeah.
not expecting him to be in this movie, and that being Colonel Quatrich, but he is in this movie instead of being his human form. Obviously, his human form died, but his memory was placed in an avatar of the Na'vi.
That was so confusing.
It was
dude.
confusing, but he's a better villain in this movie, I think, than he was in the first one. What do you think about
You
that?
think so?
I do.
Um,
Just because it gives him more depth in this movie because of what his relationships in this movie.
yeah, I will say it was really trippy seeing him
I know.
where he died. It's just
know.
really like his mind is in the body.
And watching the trailers and stuff, I never realized that he was the villain of this movie.
I didn't
again.
either.
I didn't even
Like,
understand
literally
that.
going to this movie, I knew nothing about this
I know.
movie because I didn't watch
No,
trailers.
all I
just
knew
walked
is that
in.
they would be interacting with a new tribe, and that's it. That's
Yeah.
really it. And it's their family. That's all I knew.
I mean, I don't know if he was better than the first because I guess he was a human in the first.
Yeah.
He was a solid villain. To be honest, I'm a little disappointed that they kind of went with him
I understand.
as a villain
instead
too.
of going with a different one.
But his motives, were the same. were believable. I didn't love what they did with the him and Spider plotline because I feel like that compromised his character.
No, I understand.
A little bit, but he was threatening, he was intimidating, and he was a match for Jake. So I thought he was decent for the movie.
And comparatively, their fight was really dope in the end. The third act fight, cool. I think it was cooler than the first one personally because he was just like, "Let's end it." Like they're like, "Let's do it again."
Yeah,
and I thought that was really cool. Going in, and he did not die in this movie. He's going to continue on in the universe. And we'll see. And I'm excited for the future because I don't think he'll necessarily be the primary antagonist in the third one. I think they'll change it up a little bit, but I don't know how they'll do it. I don't know if they'll do another human. Personally, I would like to see one of the Na'vi be the antagonist this time. But we'll see how it goes around with the different clans.
Another clan rises up.
That's what I would like to see. But honestly, like I agree with what you said, and I'll go into a little bit more in cons and pros and stuff about him. But I enjoyed him in this movie.
Yeah, I did too.
All right, next up, we got to talk about Kiri, who Sigourney Weaver also plays.
Yeah,
which
and
is
voices too.
And voices, yes.
So weird.
She is the daughter of Dr. Augustine from the first Avatar, who was played by Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
And the adopted daughter of Sully and Neytiri in this movie. And honestly, she's not my favorite character. Let me put that out there. But I really liked Kiri as a character.
I like her too. And I'm just confused on how.
I know.
And
there's a lot of explaining to do.
She's obviously like the water bender girl. She has obviously, like water powers, right?
She has that. And she also has connections to the world of Pandora.
Yeah.
And that's shown. She seems like you said while we were watching, is she the chosen one? What's going on with her?
Yeah.
And my thing is obviously she's Dr. Augustine, born from her avatar, right? She had her as her avatar.
Wait, okay. So her mom, Sigourney Weaver's character was an avatar.
Having her, yes.
That's so weird, man.
But we don't know who the dad is.
What?
We don't know.
But she was a human at that time, though.
No, she was an avatar too, like Sully was.
Yeah, but was she like fully an avatar at that point?
Yeah, same as, she still had her human body, same as Jake Sully did, but she was an avatar like Jake Sully.
That's so weird.
Yeah, working with him.
But she still had a human body.
Yeah,
she had a kid in another body.
We don't even know. They haven't explained anything.
I know.
They're like,
we don't know who the father is. Like, bro, this is clearly going to be a Star Wars thing, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be. There was a theory that is probably from the Water Clan, the Metcayan. I can't pronounce it. The Metcayan. Feels so bad.
So you're saying
the Water Clan. I'm just going to call it the Water Clan.
Okay.
Not maybe. It could be that, or it could be from a different clan. Maybe one of the other clans we see in a future movie, or it could be one of the forest people. It could be not. It could be just from an embryo. I have no idea. We have zero information about who the father could be.
Dude, I can't believe that. Like that's the most unbelievable thing that like people would go into different bodies and then start families in different bodies. Like how?
I mean, you fall in love.
Crazy,
love
bro.
Works in weird ways.
I know, but you go from like humans to like.
I don't know. I don't have a big problem with that. I think it's kind of cool.
I can't believe it.
But Kiri, she's a great character. I think she obviously got something else going on. She had a pretty decent role in this movie.
Yeah, she did.
Pretty big role. Not as big as the next character we'll talk about, which honestly, if you look at all said and done, he's probably the main character. But for Kiri, it was really great. I enjoyed her. I can't wait to see how they expand her character. Obviously, she's going to be big in the future of the Avatar universe.
Huge.
So I can't wait to see her again.
I liked her, yeah.
All right, next one is like I've been hyping up. He honestly, I think he had the most screen time in this movie.
Probably,
even more than Sully. And honestly, I think he might be my favorite character, and that being Loak. I don't know if that's probably wrong, but he is the middle brother, right?
The
He's
younger brother.
The younger brother of Sully. Sully's second son, and he was great in this movie.
Yeah.
I loved his character. Right, he goes from this arrogant, very jokester, like kind of almost comedic relief, but not quite. He's very much. He's very headstrong. He wants his father to approve of him.
Yeah,
constantly.
He's living in his brother's shadow.
Always.
Like, as a middle child, like I could relate.
And I understand that as the youngest as well. Yeah. And he killed it in his role. I think the actor, I don't know who the actor's name is, but he killed it. Honestly, I think he did have the most screen time in this movie. Quite honestly, I think he did even more than Sully. And every part that he was in, the character development was great.
Yeah, he had the best character development.
He definitely had the best character development, right? He goes from being this, headstrong character who just wants his father's approval to being this very caring, loving character who falls in love with the girl from the Water Tribe, obviously.
Yeah, we saw that coming.
Oh, for sure. And then also has very much development when he connects with one of the Tolakan animals. One of the whales called Peakan, and we see that relationship. And honestly, that was probably my favorite part of the movie.
Like, why you
was their relationship. And just seeing them together in that whole sense of the water and the view that was beautiful, and just his character from start to finish was phenomenal in this movie, and I loved Loak. What do you think? What else?
Listen, man, I do think he was the best character in the movie. I think he had the best writing. I think he had the best character development. Like you said, we get to see him go from that kind of cocky, just jokester guy to, in the end, he's stepping up, he's being serious, to saving his father. Right. In the end, even after the whole movie, his father was putting him down. Hey, you can't be doing this. You can't help me like you can't.
Up until the very end, when he finally says, like, I see you. And that was beautiful.
And we saw that coming. But I do think he was the most relatable character. Maybe even not for the youngest Ramiro Childs, but for like anyone in this movie. Right. I'm sure we've all felt like he has.
Yes, and I completely agree. And I loved his character, and I can't wait to see him again in Avatar 3. All right, next up we have Neteyam, which is the oldest brother, the Sully's oldest child, which unfortunately did not make it out of this movie.
Rip.
Which you predicted literally 30 seconds before it happened.
I'm like, bro, he's dying.
And 30 seconds
I'm like, it has to. I mean, but like, it was pretty clear how it worked, though. Yeah. I mean, I'll get to it in the cons, but like for having a death in the movie, like the movie just didn't spend a lot of time on him. It was about the younger brother, but,
right? That's why
if you're gonna kill him off, like why not give us a little bit more spotlight, like connection?
I feel like that was the reason, is they wanted to develop the second brother more so than they wanted to Neteyam. And he was I like Neteyam. Like, he's very much similar to his father. He's very military. He's very analyzed. He, Sully holds him up very highly in regard. He trusts him. He blames him a lot for a lot of the things that happen, which is very much expected of the oldest child. And I enjoyed Neteyam, and his death was very much, you could see it coming. And in those senses, when you see, when he does die, they do give him a big funeral send off, which was beautiful. Yeah. But I agree with what you're saying, like how it could have been better. Yeah. How it should have showed him more. But at the same time, they did this to develop Loak better than him.
I just wish that they would have then, in that case, placed more of an emphasis on his brother's reaction to his death, right?
As to
the point of the scene was not his death. The point of the scene was his brother and how he's going to continue with that, you know.
Right. No, I understand. And, it's unfortunate. Obviously, it needed to show some stakes. Somebody needed
someone
to die.
Had to die. I really thought Zoe Saldana's character was going to die.
I feel like it was too early just because she's the primary love interest of the story. I think she will eventually. But I think, throughout the movie, though, there was certain points where I thought Sully might die. Quite honestly. So it was pretty interesting on how it went. But Neteyam ultimately was the one who bit the bullet in this movie. So unfortunate there. All right. Next up, we got to talk about the youngest one. Well, there's not a lot to spin about this. They did not have a lot of screen time, but she was funny.
She was so cute,
and
man.
That was Took, right? Took. Yeah, she was Took. So cute.
She was awesome.
She was comedic relief. She was awesome. She was like,
she's so innocent.
I got captured again.
Oh no,
that was so funny. I loved her, and honestly, like she's still gonna be young, as we talked about in the next two Avatars. Maybe in the fifth one, she'll have a little bit more time role and a little bit more to do.
Yeah,
but I liked her. I mean, she didn't do a whole lot in this movie besides get captured like 3 times.
I know. I'm surprised she didn't get captured more. I know. I mean, she's probably like 6-7 years old.
Exactly. She can't do much. So.
I know she can't do much.
But I enjoyed too.
She was great.
She was great. I don't have much else to say about her.
Shout out. She was great.
All right, next up, to get out of the Sully family, but still kind of similar to the Sully family, being Spider. I love Spider. What can I say besides I love Spider?
I liked his character and I liked his presence.
Yeah.
But I'll talk more about in the cons. But I didn't love how he fit in the movie. But yeah, I liked him. Little mini funny. Tarzan on her hands.
Oh yeah, I mean, because he was born on Pandora, obviously, and he couldn't leave Pandora because he's a baby. He can't go into Cairo.
Babies can't go into Cairo, dummy.
That was so funny.
He does that.
It was great seeing his relationship with Colonel Quattros being his son. His actual name, Spider's actual name is Miles, right?
Yeah.
And seeing that relationship between the two and see it develop to where Spider eventually does save the Colonel, but still doesn't, team up with him. He still goes with the Na'vi and Avatar. So that was cool. And, seeing Sully take him in as his new son, kind of in a way, to kind of a son for a son was cool as well. And I enjoyed Spider. I don't know, like we said, I think Spider and Neytiri's relationship will be very rocky in the third one.
Yeah.
I don't know how it will translate, and I think Spider will have some beef with her.
I mean, honestly, she cut across his chest to make a point.
Right. That
he was on the chopping block for a little bit there.
He was. So it was cool to see him, and I enjoyed him in his role, and I think he'll do great in the third one. I think he'll have a bigger role in the third one, probably.
And I think we'll see a drastic improvement in his acting. I thought, it was good, but I think he'll definitely get better.
So we'll see with that. All right, next up, we got to talk about the chief and Ramal, played by Kate Winslet, along with the rest of the Water Clan. I'm just going to say the Water Clan because I cannot pronounce the actual
Justin.
name. But I love Justin.
The middle schooler.
The middle schooler.
Yeah,
kid.
like that, the curly haircut.
Yeah.
Literally every middle schooler has, I feel like.
But
Plays Fortnite.
I enjoyed seeing this Water Clan. I liked the Water Clan. They were cool. I feel like a lot more trusting to Sully and the people than I thought that was not really realistic.
Yeah.
I would be a little bit more timid. Ramal, kind of played by Kate Winslet, provided a lot of that, like mistrust and like I don't trust them and all that kind of stuff. But they were cool. They trained them in the way of the water, like going and breathing water, fishing, other elements, and of their Tulkhan animals and all this stuff. And I enjoy them. What else did you think of them?
I love the subtle and minor differences like between their bodies to see how they've adapted to their different climates.
And they're green, right?
They're green. They had longer tails for swimming. They had, thick forearms for swimming, like web stuff. That part was cool. And like, I think they can breathe underwater, right? I don't.
No, I think they can just.
They just hold it for forever,
like long periods of time. They're similar to like I guess an animal would be like maybe a manatee or a whale or something like that. Or
like
hippo.
A hippo. Yeah. It was cool. I loved getting to see, a similar humanoid species, but different just because of the climate.
Kind of like the Na'vi. Is it the Na'vi clan as the forest, or are they all Na'vi? That's the thing I don't know. Man.
I don't know.
Anyway, the forest people, they're lights because they're floating through the air, they're going through the trees, they're doing this stuff, so they're light, they're smaller.
Yeah.
Similar to like monkeys and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool to see those translations and see the difference. And I can't wait. I think there'll be more in the future, and we'll talk about that in our theories for the future of Avatar. But I enjoyed them in the role. And I personally, Ramal, obviously Kate Winslet did a great job in her character, so that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up we got to talk about the Tulkhan animals, the whale-like creatures, and Peakan, which is the one who bonded with Loak. And they were great.
Yeah.
Right? I love them.
Yeah.
I want to see more of them.
They were just straight homies, man.
And apparently they're smarter than humans.
I know.
Which is cool.
I mean,
they have their own math.
they got their own math. They got more neurons.
Yeah.
Neurons and all that jazz. They also delivered the saddest scene, man.
Dude,
in the
it's
movie.
so sad.
I could barely even watch it when they killed the one.
They killed the mom.
Oh man, that hurt, dude.
And then they took part of what's inside its brain, which was a juice that keeps apparently humans young.
Yeah,
forever.
So that's gonna have huge
in the future
repercussions.
That's gonna be huge in the future.
And
then you had the goat Peakan, the best character.
Yeah,
my guy, he killed the one dude who he hated, who killed the mom.
Yeah,
and with the arm cut in half, it was
the
beautiful.
arm cut, like the pressure against
it was awesome,
bro. Dude, homie was literally just like belly flopping onto boats.
It was great.
And like he would just like eat bullets and then disappear and belly flop again. I'm like, bro, what is this?
I mean, he's the guy. He's the goat.
That was crazy, dude.
And I really liked Peakan's relationship with Locke. I mean, personally, I think my favorite scene in the entirety of this movie was when they were swimming together underwater.
Yeah.
Just not only because it was beautiful, it was just because the music, the score, everything around the scene. With two of my favorite characters in the movie, it was just beautiful, and I had a good time watching.
And they're very similar characters.
Yes,
with Peakan, right? He's an outcast, right? People misunderstand him. He's not one of them, and that's exactly how the younger brother feels.
Exactly.
Too. So it was cool to see them kind of bond over that, and him bring him into the fold.
Yes, so. I completely agree. And that brings us to our pros as we get into that. Concludes our characters. To get into our pros now. So you want me to start us off?
Go ahead, my boy.
Obviously, I feel like I speak for the both of us. We have to start with this pro because it's the most obvious.
Pretty clear.
And that being the CGI and the visuals of this movie were excellent.
I know.
A+, 100%. Phenomenal.
How many like billions of dollars did they put into this?
A lot.
Did they put a lot of money?
They had to put a lot of money into this because every scene you're in, and 60% of this movie is CG. So it's pretty crazy to think about. And I loved it. Like you feel like you're genuinely on Pandora in a lot of scenes. You're watching a scene like, for example, I keep using the Loak and the what is the name? Peatam or whatever. Peatam and the Peakan. They're seen swimming because it was so beautiful. And not only that is when they're going through the forest, when they're going to the Water Clan, underwater was beautiful. Kate Winslet held her breath for 7 minutes because of this movie.
I can't do it for 30 seconds. Literally, you know how hard it is?
I think my record is like a minute 30.
I think how hard it is?
Very difficult.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, just phenomenal. The visuals, amazing. I mean, James Cameron wanted everything to be perfect for this movie to come out, and it was. What'd you think?
I know. To be honest, Michael, it really felt like a ride, like in Epcot.
It did.
Like it was a very immersive
Which I did ride the Avatar ride in Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, but when you think about it, most of these scenes, like they really didn't have anything to do with the plot. Swimming underwater, and shots of animals. It's like they had nothing to do with it, but James Cameron recognizes that this is like a top quality product that he's showing. So he's just trying to immerse you in that world and show you what he's created. So even though like I want like a really immersive plot, I'm just sitting there, I'm like, wow, like looking around, this is beautiful.
Right, exactly. You're just like,
that's
whoa,
a good thing.
There's a tree over there, and you're like, can't even focus on the characters talk. Oh, that tree's cool.
Yeah.
But James Cameron literally said in an interview, he was like, a lot of the studios were like, why are you having these people fly, or why are you having these people swim for so long periods of time? I mean, that doesn't have anything to do to benefit the plot anyway. Why are you keeping this in? And he's like, because I want to see it. I just want to see that. I think it's cool, and I think a lot of others would like to see that as well. And he was right. I wanted to see that.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, he'd be wasting so much if he introduced a new world with the CGI he has available at his disposal, and then to not like flaunt it, you know, and which that's exactly what it did. I feel like there must have been like 30 minutes of just at least that. So
that's just
but
so
I liked
cool.
it.
Was that your first pro as well?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I think that's the best part about the movie.
Yes.
My pro is I think there was a great job done with the inclusion of new characters and a new world into this universe. I mean, like Avatar initially when it was made, I assume was like a one-off thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But for James Cameron to throw in a family, a whole different, water people, and still, focus on the characters from the first movie. That takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of good writing. And it works well. Like you said, I know obviously they shift the attention a little away from Jake, and I think we'll see it, that happen a little bit more. Right. But, I mean, he did a great job with it. So.
And that's my next pro as well as characters in general. The family, like every single person in that, like, what is it, a 5-person or 6-person family, I loved. Like, they each had a certain amount of development that was great to their roles in this movie, and I enjoyed it. And everything about the characters that was developed in this movie was definitely a plus in my book. Like especially Loak and Kiri were definitely welcome for this movie. So I have characters.
Yeah. All right. So characters or character development? Because I had
characters.
I had character development as my next one, specifically the younger brother. But in this movie, I feel like we see a lot better character development, a lot better writing than we do in the first. Like truly, even though we don't see a ton with Jake in this movie, we just see him go from, I can't run, I gotta face my problems. Right. All the other characters go through a lot. Specifically, the younger brother, the one whale creature, Peacock, especially. But I just feel like they're a lot, better fleshed out in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. And my next pro is the pacing, actually, because it's a 3-hour and 12-minute movie, and honestly, it didn't feel like it. I can honestly say it did not feel like it. The only part that dragged a little bit was probably the second act when they're learning about the way of the water. Yeah. That's the only part that dragged a little bit. But even that, I enjoyed watching. I enjoyed watching them learn. I enjoyed watching them see. But for a 3-hour and 12-minute movie, it did not feel like that. If you had told me that movie,
2 hours,
exactly,
maybe,
it felt like 2.5 or 2:20. If you had told me it was 2-hour and 20-minute movie, I would have believed you, honestly, after finishing it. Yeah. And the pacing worked so well that it benefited that well. So I'm a pro.
I mean, and when you think about it, man, that's such a huge pro. You're talking about 3-hour, 12-minute with good pacing.
Yeah.
That's a rare accomplishment. So that's a huge W for them. My last pro is that it sets up a beautiful universe going forward. Yes. James Cameron is a master of setting up sequels. And like it just seems crazy to me to take this, after 2009, create a world off of it, and then with all the characters he leaves, with all the tension he leaves in between the characters, sets up the next movies like perfectly. So I don't know. I'm excited to see it, but that takes work too.
It does. And my next pro is the action. The action in this movie was also very cool. We touched about it a little bit earlier with the bow and arrow movements and the flying on boats and doing all kinds of cool different stuff, and the flying, the use of the water stuff and the water fights were just so cool. I'm losing my voice again. And it was just so great, and to see all them explosions and cool stuff in this super long movie was very welcome. And I enjoyed the action. And then the plot was also very good too. I think it was a very solid plot for what it was. Going off and having to leave their home for a new one because of the fact that they were tracking them and all this stuff. So that was really cool as well.
I liked it. It was simple like the first one, but I still didn't quite understand. Like, why would you think they wuld unfollow you and then kill those people too? Exactly what happened. Like, Like low key, bro. Like Jake's a terrible person. For that.
Well, he didn't even realize that they would fall in. But well. All right. So cons. You want to start us off the cons?
Yeah. Let me hit you with the con. And I know you love this character, and so do I. But I feel like it was a tad bit unnecessary, and that's the whole spider subplot. I felt it was a little bit unnecessary. While I did like the actor, and I did like how funny he was going back and forth, I didn't love the back and forth with the humans, the Na'vi, and the humans. And then with the Na'vi, I feel like his and the Colonel's relationship also kind of compromised who the Colonel was. To set up the Colonel as this big bad villain for 2 movies, and then for him to choose not even someone who's his family over revenge, which he's been gunning for years, is crazy to me. And I think that makes him too much of a human, which I don't think they should do with the Colonels when all they establish is humans are bad people. So I feel like that spider subplot with not his dad, with the Colonel, and then with the Na'vi just going back and forth, I didn't love it. And I feel like that performance kind of took a lot away from what we could have seen from the other characters.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, I can understand. For my first con, I have the side characters. Not talking about the main Sully family, because like I said, and Spider, I like the main Sully family and Spider very much as well. But the side characters, for example,
the middle school
boy,
the boys,
and the son of the chief and Ramal, I did not really get with and get behind their part of the movie, along with other human side characters that were involved. They just weren't very interesting. I feel like I could have wrote a movie without them, and it would have been just as good.
And it almost felt like too human.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Like really, like with the water people, like we understand the humanoid, but like they're not.
Yeah.
They just seemed a lot more, you know, like
they were bullies.
Advanced. I mean, they're just like regular bullies.
Yes.
But like it boils like their haircuts. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
understand.
That's a current like in style haircut. Like, why would you see that in the water?
Well, I guess you want to have, different hair colors because it's harder to tell the people apart because of the whole CGI and effects and stuff. So the hair kind of helps you. But yeah, I understand.
Too human, you know?
But the side characters just did not do it for me in this movie, so that's a con for me.
All right, listen, I agree, man. Let's see here. One of my next cons is that I feel like, and I mentioned this earlier, the writers didn't do a good enough job emotionally connecting us to the older brother, right? So the big climax of the film is when, he gets shot trying to escape. Eventually, spoiler alert, he dies. There's a funeral, but I dare not shed a tear when I was watching it. I was not emotionally connected. They spent the entire...
I actually did shed a tear.
They spent the entire movie like building up the younger brother, and then they kill the older brother. So I really feel like they missed an opportunity to do both of them. That way you're guessing which one's going to live, which one's going to die.
Right.
At least I knew the younger one wasn't going to die. He seemed pretty clear, from the get-go that he was going to go on. But I just feel like... and even if they didn't connect as well in the funeral scenes, in the scenes after, they should have put a huge emphasis on the brother's reaction, on his grief, but they didn't. So I'm just left wondering, like, why was that included?
I agree. I see where you're coming from, and I did shed a tear when he died. I was really sad because I did like him, Natayam, but I do understand it could have been developed and shown in a better way. I agree. All right, my next con it's one I talked about earlier, but there's pros and cons to this, but at the same time, it's ultimately a con, and that's, revamping the old villain instead of birthing a new one.
Ooh, I had that one too.
I mean,
that's big.
Okay, I liked Colonel Quatrich, don't get me wrong, and I liked him as the Avatar in this movie. I just think that it would have been better to have a new villain with him still in it. Cool. If he would have still been in it as a different character, but not the main primary antagonist of the sequel, I think that would have worked better. I think if you would have had a different villain, whether that be a human or a different version of the Pandoran people, would have been cool. And I think we'll get that in the future, but I just think it shouldn't have been the same antagonist twice over.
Yeah, and especially when they're like, it's his mind, but he's a completely, different person, but all his motives and feelings are exactly the same as the Colonel. So I didn't appreciate it either, and I felt that was kind of lazy writing to throw him in there.
Yeah, I understand.
Let's see. The last, con I had was just, there's, a couple of small plot holes, things that don't always make sense. Like the fact that the Colonel had the leader's kids on board for an entire fight. And after the first attack, just forgot he had hostages. Like they're just sitting there chained up and they're fighting. And once he could have stopped the fighting with the guy one like that. Or then bro, the water people literally disappeared during the fight. During the day, they're there, they're fighting. And then when the sink dang it, the ship's sinking.
Yeah.
It's literally just Jake and his family. Like, I don't know how it worked out. It's just his family. And what do the water people do? There's no one around. So I guess they probably just grabbed their popcorn, went back to the shore, and just watched it all go down.
I know.
You know, like, realistically, they would be on the boat and it would movie over. Obviously, it's a bigger movie, but, like, there wasn't even, like, a flashing scene to what the water people were doing. Like, the whole last hour of the movie is just Jake and his family. Like, where did the other people go?
Yeah.
They don't explain
I understand that. I understand that.
Just, like, little tiny things like that.
My next one is actually more of a worry for the future and also kind of a talk about the past, and that's being, is these Avatar movies going to be a continuous cycle? And what I mean by this is the second one is better than the first one, but it still has a lot of similarities as the first one does. And my question is like the end of this of Avatar: The Way of Water, he's like, you know, this is my family now, and now they got to move on. So are they going to move on to different people and do the same thing again in the next movie?
They can't.
Or what's going to happen?
They're just bringing death with them wherever they go. Like, you think about it.
That's my thing. It's not necessarily a con, but it's more of a worry as to the future of the Avatar universe. And is it going to be a continuous cycle between Pandorans versus humans versus Pandorans? What's going to go on with that?
It can be. Right? Because remember the theme, the very end theme, the theme was, you know, as a family, we can't run. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be terrible after he says that to run again. So I assume they go back to the forest, but I would like to see them somehow square off, because like surely, you know, like if I was leader, I wouldn't want them coming in. Like, they got humans gunning for them. Why would you want to bring that upon your tribe? You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I understand.
You know, so I think there's going to be like a hostility because of that.
All right, we'll see what's going on with the third one. All right, so that brings us to our theories on the future of the Avatar universe. Obviously, it's already been filmed. Avatar 3 apparently has already been filmed.
Wow.
Parts of Avatar 4 has been filmed. And when James Cameron submitted the scripts for both 3 and 4, you probably heard this, you know, he got a couple notes back for the third one to fix some stuff. But for the fourth one, he didn't get any notes back from the studio. All they said was, holy bad word.
Really?
Yeah, so
For real?
For real.
The fourth one?
The fourth one is saying it's about to go dummy hard.
Dummy hard. Really?
And he did say, also, James Cameron also said that there will be some action on Earth in the fourth or fifth one.
So the Avatar people they're gonna have to wear the masks now.
They're gonna have to go to Earth and wear some masks.
Dude, watch, and they're gonna get there and all of humanity is gonna be just as bad as the Colonel.
I mean, maybe.
We need some good representatives.
Right. I mean, we'll see how it goes and works out. But it's going to be cool, though, to see some action on Earth because, like they said, it's a dying Earth and what's going to happen, you know, why they need to go to Pandora. Maybe the Na'vi and the Pandorans, maybe they see the fact that they're struggling and maybe they help them or help the good ones. Or I don't know how it's going to correlate and how it's going to work, but I'm excited nonetheless. And how it's going to work in the future will solely make it all the way to the fifth Avatar, or will he die before then? I think Luwak will make it all the way, but I don't know about some of the other characters.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing is because, you know, most of the time when you have a character like, okay, they'll make it all the way to the end.
Yeah.
We don't know that with this one. So,
I know. Like I said, this movie did a good job of that. Like throughout the entire film, you were guessing who's gonna die. I don't know. Someone's gonna die.
That whole scene when Sully and Luwak was underwater and Sully was like, "I'm not gonna make it."
Yeah,
Jake.
I'm like, bro, he's dead.
Honestly, I thought he was gonna die.
Yeah.
And I thought he was passing
gonna
the torch.
sacrifice.
Yeah, I thought he was
right
gonna pass the torch, and Luwak's gonna be our new protagonist. But
Yeah.
no, he's still continuing. But I was worried there
That
for
was
a
crazy,
second,
yeah.
and that was pretty cool. Like, you know, to have a little bit, you can feel those tensions and you can feel the stakes of the movie. So
Yeah.
that was cool. And then another theory I've been seeing floating around, we've talked about this, is the theory of the elements being involved in these movies, right? We talked about how the first Avatar is more connected to air, right? They're floating around, they're going through the forest, they're doing this stuff. The second one now, the way of water, it's about the water people, you know, using the water as their place. Then they both have spirit trees, right? That connects them to the greater universe. So is the next one going to be about Earth? A new clan of Earth people. Maybe they're different colors. Well, they have different abilities. Well, they have maybe thicker hands. Maybe they work in the earth. They dig or something and do stuff in the earth. I don't know. Maybe the fourth one will be about fire. Maybe you will have something, and maybe some of these clans will be bad guys. They won't be good Pandorans. They'll be bad, which would be cool.
I mean, that sounds like an intriguing theory, but I'm sure James Cameron, I mean, even named Avatar, we might want to stray away from that a little bit.
From the last
I mean,
Airbender,
you know,
right?
like fire being the bad guys.
Yes.
I like the four elements kind of deal, and it's been done a lot, but I don't know. It might be better if he avoids that.
I know, with the name being literally
with the
Avatar,
name being the same.
and
you might want to separate
yourself from the original. You know.
But yeah, that's completely possible. Like maybe they're living in the earth. The fire would be the hard part.
Oh yeah,
like, how
maybe
you do that.
red,
like a volcano. They live in volcano
volcano areas.
That'd be crazy.
Cool. That'd be
That'd be
sick.
crazy.
But that would be awesome. And then the fifth one, obviously, they'll all come together maybe in some type of in-game kind of experience and fight against humanity. Something maybe, I don't know.
Humanity's desperate now and they're fighting over the same earth.
It's very possible.
Like that,
we'll see what goes on with there. But I'm honestly, like, going into this one, I was like, okay, it's going to be good. We'll see what's going on with it.
Yeah.
But now I'm actually hyped for the future of Avatar. We're getting the third one in 2024. And then we're getting the fourth one in 2026 and the fifth one in 2028. So we still got a pretty good while as long as it gets approved, right? So if Avatar 3 has already been made, so obviously it's going to come out.
So old at that point. Like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of the first. I thought it was kind of boring.
Yeah.
I didn't love it. I thought it was kind of mediocre. This one, it definitely excites me for the future. While I'm not a huge fanboy, I was still able to appreciate like the just freaking cinema that this one is.
Right.
Yeah, so.
that's for sure. All right, so that brings us to our rating of this movie out of 10. I'll start us off this time for our ratings to go off the bat, and I go back and forth between this rating. Obviously, I don't think it's better than a 9 personally, and I go back and forth between an 8.5 and a 9. But ultimately, I go back and I think that it's better than Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, in my opinion. And even though they're both great movies, they're at the same level, honestly. They're pretty close to each other. So I think I gave Wakanda Forever a 9. So I think I'm going to give Avatar a 9 as well. Okay. I'm going to give it a 9 because I don't want to go over that, but at the same time, I think it's just a tad better than Wakanda Forever in its entirety. And I think it's a great movie, and it's better than the first one. And I would say the first Avatar is an 8. So I think I'm going to give this one a 9.
You know what? I'm giving this one an 8. I really do feel like the first one, if I'm judging it by that, I'd give about a 6 thereabouts. But I think 8 is very solid. For what it was, for everything included, what we just talked about. Yeah. That's about one of the best ratings I've given. Like, there's not too much bad, but I mean, like, once you hit 9, like, you're talking like some of the best, like I've ever seen. So, I'm selling with an 8 out of 10.
Okay. All right. So 9 and an 8. All right. So we just want, and it's 8.5, right?
8.5.
So 8.5 is our hero.
It's our official.
Is our official.
We gotta do that.
We gotta start doing that more. Yeah.
Like, we'll make a post or something, and we'll take our average because we're always like in between, like usually like 1 to 1.5 points.
Yes.
So, but we'll do that probably.
We'll do that for sure. So 8.5 hero score right there for the total of the movie. So pretty decent there. So overall, Avatar: The Way of Water, good movie.
All right, guys, if you enjoyed this episode, let us know by giving us a review and a download. Our podcast, Here's in the Moment, is available on all major podcast platforms, so check us out. Speaking of, our last episode was latest superhero news 20. That one went crazy. A lot of rumors going around with that one, so check it out. If you want to stay up to date with all of our news, announcements, updates, check out the socials. We got an Instagram, Here's in the Moment, and a TikTok, Here's in the Moment with an extra T.
And we just want to thank y'all for listening, and just know we see you and we love you 3000.